What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and well, as y'all know, the Lamborghini Reventón was released yesterday on the Crew 2, and I'm actually really excited to see this car in the game. It honestly brings me back to a lot of memories of Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2010. It was one of my favorite cars to drive on there, mainly because this car honestly looks absolutely insane. I really do love the body style of this vehicle, plus the entire thing is just honestly incredible. Not only that, but it's also going to be a brand new hypercar we can mess around with a little bit more, and this car also comes with a good amount of customization that I'm going to show you guys here in one quick second, but nonetheless, so take a look at this interior, which I honestly was going to change the car a bit from looking at the overall customization, but I think I'm probably going to leave this vehicle stock because I really do feel like it's an icon. My goodness, that interior does look really good. Obviously, the back of the car is going to look like a spaceship as well, plus those really cool lights. Kind of known with Lamborghini, but the overall style of this vehicle is definitely pretty incredible for its age. But now moving over to the customization of the Lamborghini Reventón, I was kind of surprised the fact that you can also change the color of this vehicle, but as I did mention before, I'm probably going to leave mine that like black metallic color, but I do have to admit many of these colors do look pretty awesome on this vehicle. And not only that, I was kind of surprised the fact that this vehicle does have a good amount of customization, which I really wasn't expecting it with the Lamborghini Reventón, but at least it does give you an option to really change some stuff on the car if you guys would like to. So obviously we're starting off with the hoods here. We then have a carbon fiber one, which does look pretty nice. Then we have this one, which does surprisingly fit the vehicle very nicely, but I'm probably going to leave the regular one on there still. Then we have the carbon fiber version of that one. Then moving over to the front bumpers, there's only 4 of these as well. Basically like 3 of them if you include the one that's already on there. But at least we do have an option to really change how this car might look just a little bit, and then we're going to have a big splitter here, which I'm not really a big fan of that. It doesn't really look all that bad, but I personally wouldn't put that on this car at least. And here's the next one, which really doesn't look all that bad on this car either, but I'm personally not a big fan of how these splitters really look on these type of vehicles. I just feel like the Reventon's kind of like an icon, and I wouldn't put something crazy like that on the front of this car, but at least it doesn't look all that bad. If you might have been wondering if the car does have a wide body, luckily you can do that to it, and surprisingly it also fits pretty nicely on this vehicle. I think we can all agree sometimes the wide bodies don't look all that great, but luckily it looks like the wide body kit on the Reventón does look pretty dang good. And then finally moving over to the last one is going to be a carbon fiber one, which also looks pretty dang cool on this vehicle as well. Moving over to the next thing is going to be the rims. So for this, guys, you obviously only have that one rim from Lamborghini, which would make sense because, that was the rim for this car, and I personally wouldn't add any of the rims from the game either. Then moving over to the caliper color, which I'm probably going to leave this stock as well, which would be the color black there, but at least it gives you an option to change the color of the caliper. That way, if your car is red, at least you'll be able to match that. And now moving over to the side mirrors on the Reventón. So for this one, we're going to have just the regular black color, which I think I'm probably going to keep that on my car personally. Then moving over to the next one, which it looks like this mirror is basically going to match the color of the car's paint. Then after that, we're going to have the carbon fiber mirror on the side, which does look pretty cool. Probably going to keep the regular stock one for me personally, though, as I did mention before. Moving over to the next thing is going to be the skirts here. So for this one, you guys can see like basically the mix of color and carbon. When I go to the next one, it's going to be fully carbon fiber. So if you guys might be a fan of carbon fiber, you can definitely put a lot of it on this car. And also have like a mix of paint as well, which honestly might look pretty awesome. Moving over to the rear fenders now, though, obviously we're going to have the wide body kit on the back, which again, for being a wide body kit, it does look pretty good on this vehicle, and I would honestly not doubt it if this car does show up in like a Summit in the future. That would honestly be pretty hilarious. Then the next one over here is going to be carbon fiber, but this time it also has the wings on the back of the car being carbon as well, so these will be the ones that actually pop up when you're racing. So if you guys do like the carbon fiber look, this will definitely look pretty awesome on your vehicle. But now moving over to the rear wing, so there's only a few options for this. So here's the next one, which it looks like it makes the entire rear piece carbon fiber on this vehicle. So again, if you guys are a fan of carbon, this is definitely something you're probably going to want on there. And then the last one is going to be a really big wing on the back of this car, which honestly doesn't look all that bad. If you were to have the wide body on this vehicle, that might actually fit it pretty well. Then moving over to the rear bumper now, so here's this. So that's the first one. And then it looks like for the second option, you basically just get smoked out taillights. Then moving over to the third one, changes the exhaust black there, which does look kind of cool. And then moving over to the next rear bumper is going to be a really big diffuser on the back of this car. And while honestly, depending on the build you might go after, like maybe a big wing or even the wide body kit, this honestly probably wouldn't look all that bad. And then the final one is going to be the smoked out taillights with the big diffuser as well. So again, depending on what setup you guys want, this probably wouldn't look all that bad on the car. And luckily, it looks like it does fit the car pretty nicely as well, which is pretty cool. And then finally, we're going to have the interior of the car here, which I would probably going to end up leaving this just as is. I most likely will not change this because I really do like how the interior of this car looks. But if you guys do want to see what this would look like, so for example, this color, head over here and make it, let's go with that one, and then move over to that. And then you can also change like how this car looks in here, like carbon and or that really nice like matte black finish. So carbon, it'll be $9,000, and boom, if you did want to change that. So if you guys were interested in the Lamborghini Reventón, this car is going to cost you around $1,230,000, and to be honest, so far from the testing I have done, I would say the Lamborghini is definitely worth a look. Not only does this car have a lot of customization for what it is, but after some of the testing I have done with the Reventón so far, I would say this car is going to be a pretty dang good competitor. It has good handling and speed as well, but not only that, I feel like it really can compete with some of the better hypercars in this game, but let's go do an outside look of the Reventón right now. Then I also want to take this vehicle on a quick top speed test and a hyper race to really test out its overall performance. But now that we can take an outside look of the Reventón, I would say this is definitely one of the coolest looking Lamborghinis of all time. And not only that, this car is obviously super rare as well. I really do remember racing this thing on Need for Speed Hot Pursuit all the time, and having it in the Crew 2 is definitely going to be a nice touch. But let's take a listen to that engine. And now moving over to the interior view of the Lamborghini here, so to be honest, it kind of looks like exactly what I was expecting. You guys can see the Reventón on the side over there, which does look really nice with the stitching. Obviously, I did change the interior color of the car, but regardless, the car is going to look really nice inside here. Then there's the insane looking dash as well, which if I was hitting the RPM, you guys will see that go up, and then obviously it will show your miles per hour on the right, which from the looks, it's probably going to be kind of hard to see that, but for the most part, I would say this interior is going to be pretty dang detailed, and definitely will give you a sense that you're going to be in a Reventón. But now moving over to the top speed test for the Lamborghini Reventón. So for this vehicle, by the way, I am going to be driving in the snow, which I honestly have not seen the snow in a while, so I think that's going to make a lot of players happy on the Crew 2. But nonetheless, though, from the testing I have done with the Lamborghini that I did mention before, I have a feeling this car is going to be a very viable option for pretty much anything like grinding or maybe racing or even competitive. I would even test this car out in summits in the future as well because I really do feel like it's going to be really good. Now, is this going to be the fastest hypercar in the game? Unfortunately, I'm sure everybody knows that the Bugatti 300 Supersport is probably going to remain the fastest car in the game, which honestly does make a lot of sense because, well, a Lamborghini is not going to do 330 miles an hour, at least not yet for that matter. Who knows, maybe they're working on something crazy like that. But when it comes to the top speed on the Reventón, with Nitro Chemist, you guys can do well over 300 miles an hour with this vehicle. And to my surprise, depending on the road you might be on, I have hit 313 like that. But the legit top speed of this vehicle is going to be 312 miles an hour, which honestly was pretty shocking. I don't think I've driven a Lamborghini like that in this game in a while, and I really don't feel like a lot of players use them all that much, and I'm sure a lot of players remember the days of the Lamborghini Performante when that car did like 310 or so. With the Lamborghini Reventón hitting 312 miles an hour with Nitro Chemist, I think this car is going to be a great competitor, and it's easily fast enough to really compete with even many of the Bugattis as well, but let's go see how this car does perform in a hypercar race right now. So from the testing I have done with the Lamborghini Reventón, I think I can definitely say this car is going to be a great competitor in basically every aspect. So I did end up having to like mess with the handling a bit on this car because I was having issues with it at first, but do not worry guys, I will show my settings for this car at the end of the video as well if you want to check that out. But I do believe I have this car dialed in pretty decently where it definitely can get around turns at a really good pace, and not only that, I feel like with this car being a 6-speed, I was finding myself shifting it pretty nicely, and If you might be running manual, every car is probably going to feel different depending on how like their transmissions are set up, and I would say the Lamborghini Reventón is going to be very user friendly with that. I had a really good time with this car and I wasn't like shifting into the wrong gears with it or over shifting or something like that and going really slow. I found the acceleration of the Lamborghini is going to be really impressive. I honestly was not expecting the acceleration of the Lamborghini to be as good as it is, and I'm not gonna lie guys, I really do not see a lot of players running Lamborghinis in the hypercar class at all, and I really can't blame you guys on that because a lot of the classes do have a lot of vehicles like these street cars. Obviously there's a lot of hypercars as well, so it's probably going to be really hard to pick like one vehicle you really like to use and or you can pretty much use on summits and or racing if you would like. Now, could the Reventón be used on like a lot of the hyper races? I would say you could easily use this vehicle on many of those, but if you do go against like a Bugatti, you're probably going to fall behind a little bit because even like the regular Devo does like 319, so that car has a little bit bigger of a top speed than you do, but even then, I feel like the Reventon's going to feel a lot more stable than the Bugattis do, and that's one thing I was noticing. So we all know the Super Sport 300 Plus is going to be, the fastest car in the game, quote unquote, because it does like 335 miles an hour with Nitro Chemist, which is honestly pretty insane. But one thing I have been noticing after driving the Lamborghini Reventón for a little while is the fact that this car really does have better stability than pretty much every Bugatti, and even for example running like the KTM Expo GTX, I really do feel like the Bugattis might have some type of flaw with them because obviously they're probably going to be like the fastest cars in this category, and having something like the Bugatti 300 pretty much owning every single vehicle, it's going to have some type of issue with it to make some players stir away from it. And to be honest, I really do like using those, but having new cars like the Reventon being added into the game is honestly pretty awesome because it will definitely mix up the hyper category a little bit more. I'm sure a lot of players are still going to run the Super Sport, but I definitely recommend trying out the Reventon if you guys have not, because I find this car to be really fun to use. Sure, the top speed might be a little bit slower, but the overall handling and stability on this car is definitely going to be worth a look, especially if you guys are looking for something different to use on the crew too. I'm sure a lot of players might be getting tired of running a Bugatti. I would say the Lamborghini Reventón is going to be a great option. I will definitely try out this car more in future summits as well to see how it might do and how it definitely performs against some of the better hypercars and or the ones that are basically owning this class for the most part. But let me know what you guys think about the Lamborghini Reventón in the comments below, and not only that, but I also think the Lamborghini Reventón is going to be a great competitor for summits, and I feel like a lot of players are probably going to like the way this car drives. But again, let me know your thoughts on this car in the comments below, and here are the settings I'm currently running on my vehicle.